Okay, so the first thing that we are going to be looking at is, let's look at the public procurement. So let's look at the public, okay, the public procurement. Okay, so if a public sector entity or anyone who want to procure, who want to purchase or acquire goods and services with government money or loans, what are the things that are required of that particular person? Is a public sector entity or the district assembly want to procure computers or items or goods and services. They cannot just stand up and go to anybody and say, okay, we want to buy these items, so bring it without any procedures. Okay, because you are going to be using public funds, the funds are for us. You cannot just stand up and do whatever you want to do. So we should have a procedure, we should have an act, we should have a regulation that will be regulating how public funds can be used, or public funds should be used in what? In purchasing or in what? In engaging services, or that is what we are going to be looking at the public procurement. So the public procurement has to talk about what? Acquisition of goods and services, the procedures relating to acquisition of goods and services. If you are using public funds, what are the procedures that you have to look at? So if you come to the public procurement, this will always be a 10-mark question. Question number 4, this will always be a 10-mark question. Question number 4, the examiner has the choice to pick the question from any of the areas in this particular act. Okay, the first thing is that I'm not sure they can ask you what is a procurement. They cannot ask you. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, you have to look at the applicability or application of this particular act. This act is applicable to which people? This act is applicable to which people? This act is applicable to procurement of goods and services in the public sector. If you are going to be procuring goods using government funds, or the government is giving assistance, your government is giving money to you in form of loans, and you are going to be using that loan to procure goods, you have to use the Procurement Act. If you want to dispose government stores, you also have to dispose the stores in relation to what the Act is saying. Okay, so the Act is applicable to all public sector entities, including covered entities, including Bank of Ghana, including the governmental owned enterprises, the state-owned enterprises. They have to use this act. And any private individual that is procuring goods or services using government funds in form of loans, that particular individual must also use this particular act. So you look at the act is applicable to which group of people. So you have to look at the applicability of the act. That is also important. Then we can also look at, you can also look at what we call recommended, okay, commercial recommended or the established commercial established practices. They can ask you a question on this side. Okay, although we are saying that the public procurement should be applicable to all covered entities, but there can be an entity that can use the commercial practices of individuals. Okay, when should you use that? When can you use the commercial established practices? When can you forget about the competitive tendering, which the Act is saying that should be the default method for procuring goods or services? Competitive tendering, it should involve a lot of people. When should you, or when can you overlook these ones and use the practices of individuals? Okay, the Act has given only 3 situations where you can use the commercial established practices. Commercial established practices are those practices that the individual entities can use. If individual entities, we want to buy a computer, we can go to one person and buy the computer without involving a lot of people, without asking for quotation from a lot of people. No, we can just go to one person and buy the item. Okay, a covered entity or a governmental entity can also do this. Under what condition can you do this? under what condition can you do this? If the entity if you can use the commercial practices if the entity is legally and financially autonomous and operates under commercial law. Okay, if the entity is legally and financially autonomous and operates under commercial law. What do we mean by you are legally and financially autonomous? If there's something, if there's any legal issue, the public will not be dragged into that particular issue. You will be held responsible without the public image being tarnished, or without the public image being tarnished. Okay, you can solely operate without any subventions, any support from any major support from the government or the state. Then we can say that you are financially autonomous. So any organization that is legally and financially autonomous, they can use the commercial established practices. What do we say you are financially? Financially means that you are doing everything. The government is not giving you anything. So we can give you a question where the entity, we are not saying that the financial autonomy has to do with you are doing everything 100%. Maybe majority of your findings should be from yourself, should be from your own sources without support from the government. Maybe the government can be giving you 10%. Okay, the 10% can be in the form of grant. It doesn't mean that the government is doing things for you. You are financing your own activities with 90%. So we can say that you are financially autonomous. But situation where the entity is financed, 40% is IGF and 60%, or the majority of their funding is from government, this entity cannot be classified as an entity operating with a financial autonomous or financial autonomy. Okay, so they will give you a scenario or they can ask you a question on this. These are the things that you have to be saying. The art is saying that a public sector entity can use commercial established practices after obtaining approval from the authority, public procurement authority. And you can only use these particular practices when you are legally and you are financially autonomous and you operate under a commercial law or you operate under a company law. Financial autonomy has to do with majority of your fundings are from your IGF. You are not taking anything from the government, or majority of your funding, at least the government will give you 2%. That will be in time of certain things. It's not that the money should be coming every day. You have to be getting subvention from government every day. The government will only come through for you in times of difficulties. All right, so that is the first one. The second one is the proposed, if you don't want to use the competitive tendering, you don't want to use the proposed method in the act, the method of procurement that is established in the act. If you don't want to use it, your proposed method, the method that you want to use right now, your proposed method, the proposed method to be used, the proposed method, you have to make sure the proposed method is going to be, the proposed method should ensure transparency, accountability, and above all, it should also ensure value for money. Okay. So if your proposed method, the method that you are proposing that is the best for the kind of requirement that you want to do, that particular method should ensure transparency. Things should be fair. It should be a fair deal, not that you will want to use this method because the person that is going to supply the goods is your brother. No. There should be a transparency and should also ensure accountability, and above all, the proposed method should ensure value for money. So if you can prove beyond reasonable doubt that okay, the proposed method is going to be ensuring transparency, accountability, and above all, value for money, then they can allow you to use that particular what method, or they can allow you to use the commercial established what practices. Whatever be the case, you have to seek for approval, or you have to obtain approval from the board, from the public procurement what board or the authority. Okay. The next one is that it is beyond, it is beyond, it is beyond. Okay, you are proving that, okay, looking at the strategic nature of the procurement that you want to undertake, none of the methods are suitable for that. So the method, the competitive tendering, the two-stage tendering, request for quotation, single sourcing, and the restricted uh, tendering, you are saying that looking at the nature of the procurement that you want to undertake, none of these methods are suitable. None of these methods. So you can also prove that it is beyond contention. Okay, it is beyond contention that the available this is not the same thing that the art has said, but you can't say, you are not a lawyer. You cannot say the art was not written by you. No, the art was not written. It's not a family property that you have to memorize everything. No, the art was not written by us. Just summarize, understand what the art is saying. You don't have to, no, you don't have to memorize the thing and say this is what, no. Just say, write in your, it is an English, write in your own English to mean what the art is saying. So it is beyond contention that the available methods or procurement methods will not be suitable. Methods will not be appropriate or suitable, considering the nature of the strategic nature of the requirements. Okay, so they can give you a question, they can give you a case, and they'll ask you whether the company has qualified to use established commercial practices. You just have to identify and see. The main issue will be about the legal and the financial one, or the main indicator will be the financials, because they will not be open enough to tell you that the people are arguing that the proposed method or the available procurement methods will not be appropriate for whatever they want to undertake. So the factor will always be the finances. Okay, the factor will always be the finances. If majority of the finances of that particular entity are from government, then they are not financially what autonomous. So they can ask you question on the commercial established what practices. Okay, they can ask you question on that. After that, what would they ask you? Okay, they can ask you a question on the general principles of the requirement, the general principles of, okay, the general principles. So if you want to ensure an effective and a good procurement procedure, there should be certain principles that you have to abide by. You can't just stand up and say, okay, Kofi, we want goods come and no. There should be principles. So the procurement process has to be undertaken in relation to certain principles. And these principles are there. They can ask you. They can ask you to state and explain the principles. Okay, so the principles, we are going to be looking at them. We'll be looking at the issue of competition. We'll be looking at issue of competition. The competition is a situation where we are having a competitive tendering. Okay, you should not just stand up and say you are going to buy things from, or you just ask certain people to come and what? To come and tender for the contract. No, it should be open to everybody. All those who have the capacity to compete, or those who qualified for the contract, the process should be open to all of them so that they can also what? They can also tender their bid for what? For the contract. So it should be competitive. The process should be competitive. You can't just select only 2 people and say that. No, there should be an issue of competition. We also have what we call the transparency. We also have what we call the transparency. The transparency has to be with the process being open and fair. Okay. So whatever we are doing, we can see that, okay, oh, this thing, what you are doing over here, you are being fair. We can read through the line and say that, okay, the process is being fair. So the issue of holding certain information to, or giving information to certain people and what leaving other people, the process should be fair. If you want people to submit their contract or their tender at 8:30 p.m., they should go and everybody should go to wherever they are going to be submitting the what their bid, their tender. They should go there and submit it. You don't have to go and say, okay, because it's you, you can go to this person and submit. No, the process have to be fair to everybody. The process have to be fair to everybody. And you should also have the issue of how we ensure value for money. The 4 E. So we have the issue of efficiency. We should not spend much to get the process done. Okay, whatever item that we are going to be securing or whatever item that we are going to be procuring should be for the purpose that we are what we are procuring that particular product. Should be effectiveness and the economy. We should be able to bargain and procure the item at what affordable price. Quality should not be what should not be compromised. Then we also talk about the issue of equity, and the principles are there, so you can just read on them. Okay, they can ask you about the principles. They can also ask you about the likely risks that is going to be associated with what with the procurement, the public procurement process. The risks that we are talking about is that what will be the loopholes in the system. That is what they are talking about as the risk. Okay, what are the things that will happen that the public will be suffering? That is what we are calling the risks. So the risks associated with the procurement, we can have the risks of procuring fake goods, which is always popular at the district assembly levels because everybody want to go to the house with something. They'll have an agreement with the supplier, and the supplier is going to inflate what their prices, and they will do everything possible. It's everywhere. We are in the public sector. If you ask them, they say the money is not for your dad or it's not family money. The money is for all of us. Okay, so the propensity of the possibility of procuring fake goods are there. We also have the issue of discrimination among the suppliers. Discrimination. So this person, we can say that, okay, NDC in power. So if you are MPP person, okay, you qualify for the contract, but they will not give it to you because of the political status or the political affiliation. So there are going to be a discrimination which can be on tribal issues, or it can be on your religious association, or it can be on your political association. So there's going to be an issue of discrimination among those people. There's also an issue of inflating the prices. There's also going to be an issue of inflating the prices. There's also going to be an issue of conflict of interest, a situation where you go and establish a company and be supplying the item for yourself, for the entity. So there's going to be a lot of risks over there. The risks has to do with, we can use the money. The goods will not, we can also procure goods that will not exist. Okay, we can procure goods that will not exist. That is also normal in the public sector. So they will say they have purchased this item. You cannot see the item. I remember we were auditing one of the town was doing national service. We are auditing one of the district assemblies, and they say they have certain assets there. And we are the place you have to, if you want to go to the next town, you have to travel by the water. And we cannot go there. It might happen that the thing is not even there. They say they have constructed toilet or something for the people, and they have the document and everything there. How can we go there and inspect the projects? Because we are scared. So sometimes the thing will not happen, but they will just put the money there, forge some documents, and they will tell you that, okay, the thing is over there. You cannot go because you also care for your life. All right. So they can ask you about the risks, the issue of the risks. They can also ask you about the public procurement authority. So the board. So we cannot have a process without board. We cannot have a project where we are not going to be having somebody that will be what? That will be supervising the project. So since we have the art, there should be a board that will be monitoring the implementation of this art. So we have to establish the public procurement what? Authority. And you have to look at the functions of them. What are their functions? They formulate policies, they train the individuals that are going to be involving in this one. They can even sanction you when you have issue with the process. Whenever you breach any of the rules or the process over there, they can also sanction you. So you can look at their functions and how are they being financed. They are going to be taking fines from people. They are going to be taking appropriation for parliament. Donation can also be to them, and they can also get other monies that will be provided by the Minister of Finance, or they can also invest some of their surplus funds and they'll get return on it, so it can be an investment income. So maybe they can also throw a question to you on the funding of the board. Okay. Then you also have to look at the composition of the board. Okay. The time that I was writing the PSA, he asked a question on the composition of the board, although I glanced through that, I cannot remember, but I know that the board is made up of what? 9 people, but I don't know how these 9 people are going to be. I don't know their status and I don't know their qualification. So the board is going to be made up of 9 people. Okay. The board is going to be made up of 9 people, and these 9 people. Okay. I want to take someone to give us the breakdown of the 9 people. Yeah, Auntie Abigail. The last time you were the one who gave us the board, the time that we were solving question on that. Can you still remember that for us? Or it was Auntie Elizabeth? Scenario, can you help us with the board? Or it was Auntie Ernestina?
The chief executive.
Okay, we have the chief executive of the public procurement itself, the chief executive of the board, which is the public procurement. The chief executive over there should be part of the board. So we have the CEO of the PPE, Public Procurement Authority. And what again?
4 persons from the public sector, of which 1 should be a woman.
Okay, 4 persons from the public sector, and one of them should be a woman, and one of them should also be a representative of what?
Attorney General.
And the other 3 people should be nominated by
Minister of Finance.
Okay, please don't go and lose any mark there. Okay, if you know the question, write it very well so that they can give you. But if you cannot remember, don't lie. Okay, if you are lying, it will spoil the thing. So just write what you know without adding anything. So 4 persons from the public, one of is it going to be one of which or one of who should be a woman? Okay.
Whichever.
One of which should be a woman from the 3 people that will become Ministry.
Okay, so one of which should be
one of whom should be.
Okay. So
one of whom should be.
Okay. Should be a woman. Okay, there's no problem with that. And one should be among these people, one of them should be a representative of the Attorney General, and 3 people should be appointed by the Minister of Finance. What again?
The other 3 from private sector.
Okay, 3 people from the private sector.
Private sector.
We are not appointing anyone.
Which one should be a lady?
Okay. So we are not just appointing people. The people should also have knowledge about what? About the procurement process.
Public procurement.
They should have knowledge about it. So we are not bringing anybody. We are not just bringing people there because we want them to be on the board. No, they should have knowledge about what they are coming to do. And the last person should be a chairperson or a chairman. Okay, who has experience and knowledge in what? In public what? Procurement. So they can ask you about the composition of the board. They have asked they have asked us before, and I don't know what to say. It was actually maybe 4 marks or something. I cannot recall the structure of the board. So they can also ask you about the board, and also they can also ask you about these people are going to be at the top there. Okay, they are not going to be the people that will be involving in the procurement process. No, they are not going to be the people that are going to be procuring the goods. They just want to ensure that everything is being done. Everything is being done. Transparency processes are being followed whenever you are doing the procurement process, whenever you are procuring items, whatever the art is saying, it has been followed. So they are just there to make sure that the procurement act has been implemented or has been followed. But those that are going to be undertaking the procurement themselves are not part of those who are serving on the board. So we are going to be looking at what the procurement entity, the entity that has the authority to procure goods. So if you come to Ministry of Health, they are going to be procuring goods, they can be called a procurement entity. If you come to District Assembly, they are going to be procuring goods, they can be called what? A procurement entity. Any institution that has that particular authority or the power to what? To engage in what? Procuring of goods or services. They have the power to undertake that particular transaction. So we'll be looking at the procurement entity. They can ask you about a procurement entity where they will be asking you the functions of the head. There's going to be a head. Okay, the entity, they are going to be a head of the procurement entity. So they can ask you about the questions of the functions of the head of the procurement entity. What are some of the functions that this person has to be has to be performing? One of them is that he should make sure that the art, there is a compliance with with the art. That is the first work. Whatever the art is saying, make sure that everything about the art has been carried out. Okay. Another one is that this person should also establish what we call should also establish what procurement units, entity tender committee, those minor committees that are going to be helping the organization or the institution to procure the goods. And you also have to make sure that whenever there's going to be a disposal of public stocks, the due process has been followed. And we are going to be looking at the disposal of the public stock too. So the head of procurement entity, they can ask you functions about that particular person. The functions are plenty. Just pick the 4 or 5 of them. That is very simple to keep in your mind. So go and pick 4 or at least 4 of them or 5. The easiest one that you can easily keep. Okay, the one that you understand very well, you can just close your eyes and write. So you go and pick at least 5 or 4 of those functions. So they can also ask you a question about what we call the procurement unit. Okay, the procurement unit is just like a budget unit in the organization. They are the people that are going to be undertaking the procurement themselves. These are the people that are going to be doing the preparation of the procurement document and everything. It's just like a budget unit. So the budget will be prepared over there, and we are going to be having a budget committee. The committee will now call the people and see what has been done. They will review those issues and they will move on. Okay, so the procurement unit is just like a budget unit in an organization. So that is the place that a document about the procurement, everything about the procurement is going to be carried out. Okay, so they are just like a budget unit that are going to be ensuring the preparation of the procurement plan, how the process should be done, and all those issues. Okay, and there are going to be a head over there. They can ask you the function of that particular head. Also, you need to be able to get the functions to at least 3. Then we come to the entity tender committee. Entity tender committee is just like the budget committee. Okay, budget committee and organization. So whenever the budget is being prepared, it will be submitted to these people. And then we'll look at it. The same way the procurement plan is being prepared, it will be submitted to these people. Anything about procurement, they are going to be looking at it. And within the entity tender committee, they are also going to be having what we call the tender. Within them, they are also going to be establishing what we call a tender evaluation panel. Okay, so if all the tenders have been submitted, all the bid for the suppliers have been received. There will be people out of the committee over here who are experts. They are going to be experts. They have knowledge about accounting because we are going to be looking at issue of valuation over there. They have knowledge about construction. They have knowledge about law. They are going to be evaluating the tender and be making recommendations to the entity tender committee. Okay, whatever has happened, we have a board that is also a committee that is also coming to review the whatever decision that has been done. So at every stage, the decision, every procedure will be reviewed by a committee. And that is what we call the tender review committee. We have it at the central level, and we also have it at the local assembly level. So these people, they are only after every process, they will come and review whatever is happening there. So if they identify any misapplication or any phishing item, then they can call or they can stop the procurement process that this thing should be addressed. So they are there to review whatever is done. At every stage of the process, of the procurement process, they will come and review. The thing will not be done before they come and review, no. As soon as you are done with this step, they will review the step. If you are okay, then they will give you go ahead to go to the next step. So if they are not okay with this step, then they can cut down the process. So we have the tender review committee, which is also going to be there. And then there are functions also. Okay. After this one, what again? We have something that we call procurement plan. Procurement plan is just a document. Everything about the procurement will be in a document. It's just like if you want to go to school, you are entering the school, you are going to be having a plan for yourself. Okay, this school that I'm going right now, I'm not going to be playing. These are the things that I want to do. Just like after the time that we are entering the university, we have a plan that, okay, at the end of 28 years, you have to get your own car. You have to do those are the plan. Everything about the procurement, the process, the method that we are going to be using will be documented. That's what we call the procurement plan. And we are going to be following that plan. Why should we have the plan? Why should we have the plan? They can ask you, why should we have the plan? They can ask you about why there should be a procurement plan. Okay, so we have the procurement plan. Then we now move on to the procurement methods. If you want to procure goods, what are the methods that you are going to be using? If you want to procure services, what are the methods that you are going to be using? And that is going to be an important side of the examiner. The examiner can actually examine you on the method. So you have to take the method okay. So for the methods, you have to be very okay with the method. They'll not ask you the meaning of the methods, but they'll ask you under what situation can you use this particular method. So you are going to be having the issues of the competitive tendering, that is the default method. And the competitive can be, we can have the open one. The open one will be a situation where you are going to be having the international, a situation where you are going to be doing you are going to be inviting people outside the country to come and bid for this one. When should you use this one? Sometimes, like especially the road construction, those people, we don't have the technical expertise. If you want to ensure quality work delivery, or you want to ensure a higher specialization or higher quality of the work, we have to involve the outsiders, especially the road contracts. Okay, we don't have, although we are learning the engineering and those things, but still we can only mix concrete and those ones. We cannot construct road. Okay, so we have to get those people because of some technical work based on the technicality of the work. We have to now open it to outsiders to also come and we can also do what we call the national one, where only people within Ghana, only the citizens will be allowed to tender. Okay, then we can also have the other competitive tendering, which will be the two-stage tendering. We have the request for quotation, we have the single sourcing, we also have the restricted tendering, okay, they can ask you, but they will not ask you to explain this, although they can give you a list that explain these methods. But the question that they can ask you is, when should you use these ones? When should you use this method? When should this method be used? And we are going to be looking at examples and be talking about that. So the methods of procurement is also methods of procuring goods is also important. The goods is important. Then we also come to service. Service is also important. Okay. Then we can also look at qualification of what? Qualification of tenderers. So anyone who want to tender, okay, you cannot just stand up and say, okay, we are looking for contractors so that they can take up a contract of what? Constructing what? A 6 unit classroom block for this particular district. And you also stand up and say you are bringing your proposal. No, you should meet a certain what? Criteria. You should meet a certain criteria before you can submit that particular bid or tender for the contract. So the qualification is going to be very important. The person should have the financial capacity or the operational capacity to carry out the contract. You have what it takes. You have the human capital. You have the machines to carry out this particular work. The person should also be operating ongoing concern. You should not have liquidity issues. We give you a contract before we realize you cannot have money to finish the contract, or you don't have the funds to finish the contract, and you are now using our money to pay your debt, and there's no money left for the contract. So the person or the entity should also be operating on a going concern. They should be free of liquidation issues. The people should also fulfill their obligations of paying taxes and other social contributions. So they are going to be asking for the tax clearance certificate. If you are submitting on this one, the procurement entity will ask for that particular one, that you should add certain documents as a proof that you have actually fulfilled your obligations of this. Although some people can forge it, but they have to. The tender evaluation panel is there, and they are going to be confirming these ones. You can be there. They can call you with a phone that, okay, they have received this from this person, and this person is saying this. Can you confirm this? Yes. And the top people, the top management or managers of these people should be clean in the eyes of the law. Okay, what do you mean by in the eyes of the law? They should not be charged with any legal issues, like maybe they have engaged themselves in bribery, they have engaged themselves in child trafficking, or maybe any other issues. So we'll be looking at the qualification also. Under the qualification, we also look at the cancellation and rejection of the tender. And at what situation can you reject the tender or the work done? You can reject the tender. Sometimes the rejection will comes in as a result of unsatisfied work being done, which has been confirmed by the Auditor General, or the person has been sanctioned. Okay. All right. We are closing at 10. Okay, so rejection can also come in. We pick a question and look at that. We can also look at the issue of suspension. Okay, we can also look at the issue of cancellation. So cancellation, when should you cancel the procurement process? You can also cancel the procurement process before maybe even the time or the expiring date will come. Okay, then this one, they can also ask you a question about the administrative procedures. If you want to bring in a complaint, maybe they have rejected your listing and you are not okay. They haven't explained the grounds for the rejection and you want to know, okay, you can lodge in a complaint, and the review committee will look at it for you. If they will give you their opinion, what they think, they will give it to you, and they will communicate that to you. If you have any problem, you can, if you are not okay with that, you can send it to the board. If you're not okay, then you can send it to the Supreme Court for anything that you think. So we are also going to be looking at the complaint and how you should put your complaints there. And also we'll be looking at the issues of the disposal. So if you come to the disposal of public stocks, what is the process? Disposal of the public stocks, what should be the process that you should follow? They can ask you a question on that too, and the methods are there. Okay, they can ask you a question. Let's come to the PPA, public-private partnership. Okay, we know that basically all governmental projects are being financed through what? Through the national budget, mostly. Okay, but what will happen is that not all the projects can be financed. We cannot finance all the projects through the national budget. It cannot be through the allocation or the appropriation made by Parliament to finance all the projects. So some projects are going to be very important. If UG, University of Ghana, they want to now put up a housing project for the students, they want to build out hostels. Government of Ghana cannot give them money to the value that they can be able to put out the hostels there. Although they can do some parts, they cannot do all. So they can engage with individuals or private individuals to come and put up their hostel there, and they will operate it because they are profit-making organization. They will operate it for some time, then they will hand it over to what? To the University of Ghana. Okay, and that is what we are coming to look at over here, that arrangement, a situation where public services or public projects will be given to individuals to what? To run for some time, and the individual can transfer back to the government, or the individual can keep it or something. Okay, so if you come to schools right now, the government does not have the funds to what? To put up a structure for this particular community. The government can contract an individual to come and do it for some time. The individual will be charging school fees for a particular period. After the person was able to recoup his money, then the person can now hand over the school to what? To the government. So that's what we are coming to look at as a PPP. Okay, what are they going to be asking you under the PPP over here? They can ask you about what we call the guiding principles. Okay, so you cannot just stand up and say you are going to be contracting an individual to come and do a project. No, if that happens, then it means that it will be a family affair. So there should be certain principles, or even if you are contracting your family member, there should be certain things over there. There should be certain things there. So we have the guiding principles like the ability to pay. The project should have, okay, the person is bringing money, so the project should be visible, should be feasible. The person should be able to get the money back. If it is hostel facilities, do you have the people that will use the facility? The project should have the ability to what? To pay back the capital that the person investing there. Okay, we should also have what we call the risk allocation. So risk has to be shared. So the person that is going to be using the facility for most of the useful life of the facility should be able to bear the what? The risk, bear the higher portion of the risk. So risk should be shared in a what? In a manner on the benefit that you are going to be getting from the facility. Then we also have the principle of value for money. We also have the local content and technology share. All those ones are there. And we also have what we call the governing principles. The governing principles, we have the transparency, accountability, competition, and those ones there. Okay, what again can they ask you about this one? They can ask you about maybe the benefit of this arrangement. They can ask you about the risks associated with this one. Okay, let's look at the risks first. Okay, what are the risks associated with you? Instead of the government or the public undertaking a project, you will now involve or what? A private individual or a third party. Okay, what are some of the issues that might be coming here? You can agree that the project will be available or the facility will be available after 2 years. After 2 years, the facility will not be available. So you'll be having the inability of the facility to be available is also a problem for you. So we have the availability risks, a situation where the facility will not be made available as at the time that it is needed. We have the availability risk. We also have the financial risks, the inability of the private individual to raise funds to finance or to complete the project. We're also going to be having construction risks, a situation where there will be shortage of those things. There's going to be there will be a material wastage and all those things. We have a problem with that. We can also be there will be accident and certain things happening at the work site. We also have a demand risk, a situation where after the facilities are available, we don't have people to come and use it. We don't have the facility, or we don't have the people to come and use this particular one. We also have the risks of maintenance and other issues. This risk of maintenance is always with the government. We know that the public, we lack culture of maintenance. If you look at the Cape Coast Sports Stadium right now, we cannot actually maintain that particular. We cannot maintain that particular facility. We also have the residual risks, which will always be passed to the government. Residual risks. So you have a value that, okay, this will be, the facility will be transferred to government at this particular value. So 20,000. At the end of the day, the market value of the facility is actually 15,000. So the government will suffer that particular risk of the reduction in the residual value. So they can ask you about the risks. They can ask you about the forms of the PPP contracts. So they can ask you about the contracts or the PPP contracts, which we have so many ones. Okay, you have to be very careful. Okay, some of these contracts, there's always going to be an existing facility, okay, which we call existing vehicle. There can be existing facility. The public already have a facility, but they want a private individual to come and run this facility for them. So if they're asking you a question, you need to recommend the appropriate contract for the facility. But if it is a new facility that they are bringing in, there's no facility, there's no existing vehicle, and the individual is going to be bringing it now, you also know the contract that you are going to be recommending. Okay, if it is existing facility, you can also use operate and maintain. Okay, operate and maintain. This is always like the government contracting an individual to come and manage a facility for them. So risks and everything is with the government. The government will pay the individual a fee, or maybe a commission, or maybe an agreed fee for the work that we are doing. We have a software that we cannot operate in our office, in our district office. We don't know how to operate it. We have the software already. We can contract somebody, outsource the person to come and do this, and we pay the person. Okay, this will be a form of operate and maintain. Okay, we also have the rehabilitate, operate, and transfer. Okay, so a government will be having existing facility, but it is not in a good shape. So the government will ask the individual to come and do the renovation and everything about it. Okay, to come and do everything and operate it. So we can use the aluminium castle. You can see the aluminium castle is now in a good shape. So we can give it to an individual to come and dress that place nicely and now use it for a tourist. All the costs that they have incurred, they will operate it for some time. After getting all the money that they have used in the restructuring or the rehabilitation, then they will now give it back to us. Okay, you can also use what we call the service concession agreements. Okay, we can also use what we call the service concession agreement. So the government can have an existing asset and the government can now, so the ACG one, okay, the ACG, the PDS and that one, the ACG is already there, but we are just contracting a private individual to come and provide public service through the existing asset that we already have. So we can also use that one. But if it is a new something that is coming in, the government is now deciding to undertake that project and we want the individual, then you should be talking about those that the individual will be bringing the item themselves. So we can be talking about issues of build and operate, where the individual will build this one, operate. The government will only give them support in a form of subventions, like the one district, one factory project. The government is not the one who is coming to do it, but any individual who is willing to carry out that project, the government can give them tax exemptions or tax holidays for that particular project. So we also look at the build, operate, and transfer. Okay, the individual will build this one, operate, and transfer. So we can also have the build, transfer, and operate, which is always like the road construction contracts. Okay, the individual will come and construct, give it to government. Government will now give it back to them to use for some time. You can also have the design, build, and operate. We can also have all those issues. So you need to have you need to know where the question is coming from. Okay, we can also have the issue, or they can also examine you on service concession as to the recognition of asset and those ones. Concession asset. When do we recognize concession assets? When the grantor is the public, is the government. But when the grantor has control.
Assurance professional. They are doing the same thing that
Okay, so the service concession asset, they can ask you a question on that. They can ask you a question on disclosure also. What are the disclosures that you have to be making? Description of the arrangement, any option of termination or renewal, all those issues you have to be able to have control over those ones. Let's come to PEFA. The PEFA is just a tool that is being used to assess how effective and how efficient our Public Financial Management Act is. Okay, so we have the tool. PEFA is just a tool that is being used to assess the performance of the public in relation to the provisions. How are we complying with the provisions in our Public Financial Management Act? So we have assessments that we use criteria, or we use indicators to measure that. Okay, they can ask you a question on the use of the PEFA report. After everything is being done, you now write a report. It's just like assessment. You are assessing the performance of somebody. So you write a report on assessment. They can ask you about the uses of the PEFA reports. They can also ask you about the methods that you are going to be using. We have the average and we have the weakest the method of scoring the performance. Okay, they can also ask you about the outcomes of open and orderly PFM acts. They can also ask you about the outcome. They can also ask you about the pillars of PEFA. What are the things that we take into consideration? What are the things that we want to achieve? So they can ask you about the pillars. They can also ask you about the sources of getting information for the assessments. Okay. Okay, the PEFA is public expenditure. Public expenditure. Hey, I'm forgetting it. Public expenditure.
and financial accountability.
Okay. Public expenditure and financial accountability. Okay. That is the full meaning. Seems like I was trying to forget it. So they can ask you about those the challenges, the sources of where can you get information. Those are the areas that they can actually ask you a question on that. Okay. If you come to issue of budgeting, they can ask you a question on the budget process. They can also ask you about the disadvantages or the benefits of budgeting in the public sector. Okay. They can also ask you questions on the importance of budgeting. They can also ask you questions on the types of the budgeting tools that we use, the zero-based, the activity-based, the program-based, and also the incremental budgeting. They can ask you the advantages and those ones, and also the process in the budgeting. What are the major processes in the budgeting? So we look at the budget preparation, approval, the implementation, and then the monitoring. What are the activities at those level also? They can also ask you a question on that. And if you come to the issue of the introduction to public sector, maybe they can ask you the functions of those who are charged with those who are charged with governance. We know that the main purpose of public sector accounting is to ensure accountability and transparency, to ensure that public funds are being utilized efficiently and effectively. How do we do this? It means that we need to establish rules and responsibility and assign these to individuals, so that individuals can perform this together to achieve their goals. So they will be asking you responsibilities, or they will be asking you about the responsibility of certain people that are charged with governance. Parliament will be part, but mostly they ask about the controller and accountant general, because he is the one that is actually in charge of the public funds. They can also ask you about Minister of Finance. They can also ask you about Principal Spending Officer. They can also ask you about the government itself, the cabinet, and also all of those people. So you just have to pay attention to those ones. Let's use the remaining 2 hours to pick some questions, and we see. So we pick the question up to the last theory question, then we know that we are done with the theory, and tomorrow we start with the analysis and also the final accounts. Please, any question before we start using the theories, we start using the questions to revise.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Hello,
we
sir.
can
Good
move on.
evening.
Yes, now
How are you doing, sir?
I'm very fine now.
Sir, please, I've not heard anything about the public financing. I don't know. The public funds.
The public funds, okay. This is actually not a major area, but sometimes you can see a question like maybe 3 marks or 4 marks question on it. So that's why I didn't really talk about that one. But if there will be a question, the question will only be on the source of finance for them. Okay. So if you have the GET fund, what are the sources of funds for the GET fund? The District Assembly Common Fund, what are the sources? The Petroleum Fund, what are the sources? Okay. So it's not a major area. That's why I didn't talk about that one.
And then, so what about the gift me?
The gift mix, I don't have notes on that. I really try to get note on it, but I didn't get any note on it. But they can also give you a question on the things that the gift mix the problems that the gift mix want to address. Okay, the problems are with accounting, HR, and other issues. So I really try to get note on that, but I didn't get any note on it. So that's why I didn't talk. We not even do it. Okay, and we not even talk about it, because I was trying to get a note and share with you people, but I didn't get a note on that. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Okay, Auntie Patricia, are you there? Auntie Patricia.
Sir, please, I've lost my voice. I can't read.
What happened?
You've read that you've lost your voice.
What happened? So where is your voice? Where did you take it to before you lost it?
I didn't take it anywhere.
So what happened?
I was shouting.
Shouting for what?
I was just happy.
Without writing the exams.
Thanks.
No.
ICAG has collected it.
Hey.
Oh gosh.
Oh, this your happiness needs to be investigated. You are going to write exam 1st July, Monday, and you are already happy. Oh,
She's
wow.
passed already.
Amen. Oh.
Auntie Bell, can you help us?
Hey, I should read.
Is it me or Pill?
Bell.
Not Pearl. Hey.
Bell.
Okay, all right.
Capital B and the rest.
Okay.
All right.
Please, should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. In the procurement structures, the head of procurement entity and the entity tender committee play a critical role in open and orderly procurement The newly appointed chief executive of the covered entity you work for as an accountant for years has invited you for discussion on public procurement matters in the entity, a particularly the role of the head of procurement entity and the entity tender committee, and he has advised you to come fully prepared on the subject matter required. As part of your preparation towards the pending invitation, prepare a brief on the role of the head of procurement entity and the entity tender committee in reference to the Public Procurement Act 2003 as amended.
Okay.
B. The use of.
Okay, you
Should
continue.
I continue, please?
Yeah, continue.
Okay. B. The use of single source procurement was the simplest but most risky method of procurement under the Public Procurement Act 2003 as amended. However, the method remains the most appropriate method of procurement under some exceptional circumstances under the law required. Discuss 4 exceptional circumstances under which the use of single source procurement is acceptable under the Public Procurement Act 2003 as amended. Can you please go up for me? Can you please scroll up for me, sir? Okay, so let me take the B part again. The use of single source procurement is the simplest but most risky method of procurement under the Public Procurement Act 2003 as amended. However, the method remains the most appropriate method of procurement under some exceptional circumstances under the law required. Discuss 4 exceptional circumstances under which the use of single source procurement is acceptable under the Public Procurement Act 2003 as amended. And
Okay.
then 2.
Oh no,
Okay.
let's take the first one first. All
Okay.
right. So the first one,
Hello, sir.
yes, please.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Please, I wanted to check if there's a difference between single source and sole sourcing. Are they the same?
Yes, they are the same.
Okay.
No,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. So in the procurement structures, the head of procurement entity and the entity tender committee play a critical role in an open and orderly procurement. The newly appointed chief executive of the covered entity you work for as an accountant for years has invited you for discussion on public procurement matters in the entity, and particularly the role of the head of procurement entity and the entity tender committee, and he has advised you to come fully prepared on the subject matter. As part of your preparation towards the pending invitation, prepare a brief on the role of the head of procurement entity and the entity tender committee in reference to the Public Procurement Act 2003 as amended. How will you approach this question? Or what is the requirement? What are they asking you to do?
Okay, they are asking for the roles or the functions of the head of procurement entity and the entity tender committee.
Okay, that is not bad. That is not bad. Okay, so how do you present it? Will you just go and write the
Since it is in the report form, we will do the 2 then from the format of a report.
Okay, the question was not saying that it should be, they just say you should prepare a brief. It can be a brief note, okay, not necessarily a report that you are going to be writing, okay. It can be like a note, a brief note with small introduction. Then you just bring your the rules of the head of procurement entity and then the entity tender committee, not necessarily putting it in a report form. Okay, not necessarily putting it in a report form. Okay, there's no way. You can also start by just saying the role of head of entity tender committee, entity procurement entity. Nobody's going to be doing anything, because at the end of the day, the question is about the rules of what, of these two what structures in what, in the public procurement what process. Okay, so they are asking you to prepare a brief. Okay, so you can, they are asking you to prepare a brief, so you can just do a brief note. So maybe a brief note on the rule of head of procurement entity, Hope. Okay, Hope, head of procurement entity is Hope, and the entity tender committee, ETC. Okay, you don't have to now explain who the head of, no, you don't have that time. They just say that the brief note on this one. So you can say that, okay, under the Public Procurement Act, under the Public Procurement Act, under the Public Procurement Act 2003, as amended, okay, as amended, it establishes the following rules to be performed or carried out. Please don't go and be quoting section, that section something, no. You are not a lawyer. So to be performed or carried out by the head of procurement entity and also the entity tender committee. So you just come here, another down, and say rules of the head of procurement entity. So that one, what are the rules? What are the rules are the same as the functions. What are the functions that the head of entity has to perform? I've mentioned some of them during the time that I was doing. Okay.
He must ensure compliance with the law.
Okay, he must ensure the compliance with the Public Procurement Act, compliance with the Public Procurement Act as amended. Okay, what again?
He approves contract award within his threshold.
Okay. Okay. What again?
Establish procurement units and staff them with competent staff.
Okay. So establish procurement units with competent
staff.
Okay. Competent persons or personnel. Okay, what again?
And
He ensures that
panel
competent and qualified evaluation panel.
Okay, so what we are trying to say, we can just say he should what? He should is he going to be supplying competent people to the panel? Or okay, and panel competence. Okay, and panel competence individuals to the evaluation panel. Okay. So, okay, someone was
It
trying
also
to say
ensures that
yeah.
Procurement processes are duly followed.
Okay. We also ensure that procurement processes are duly followed. Okay. There's one that I
Is
want
it
you to see.
is it not the same as the point one?
Yeah, that's my question.
No,
So the point one is the compliance.
okay.
I don't think they are the same.
They are not the same.
The process, the compliance with the acts, maybe they may be following them. They will ensure that the procurement follows the acts, all right, but maybe they may skip some processes along the line. So I don't think the last point is the same as the first one.
Okay, the people that are saying that they think they are the same, they should do counter attack with what you're saying. You can be compliant, but you might not be following the process. Okay. You can be, this is the law, but you can skip, okay, you can comply with the law, but you might skip some steps before complying with the law. So the act is saying that, okay, whenever we are going to be doing a procurement, the default method should be a competitive tendering. So we can do a competitive tendering, but how these people are being selected, how the people are being selected, we can skip some of the procedures and select the person. We have used competitive tendering for the one, but did we follow all the process before getting these people? So we can comply with what the act is saying by use a competitive tendering for all your procurement. Okay, we are going to be selecting a person based on competitive tendering. We can get these people. We just look at their contracts. Maybe the next thing is we call them. They should come without doing evaluation and those ones. Okay, so that is it. You can comply, but you can also skip the process. Everything about the process you have to follow. So they are not actually the same. All right. What again? I want you to talk about.
And
something
he also
important.
ensures that stores, vehicles, and equipment are disposed of.
Okay,
in accordance.
Okay, so let me, the person asking for this one, let me just share the listing with you so that you can actually write the points from the slides. Okay, so let me see if you can write the point from the slides here. Okay, so that will be very simple for you. You don't have to functions of the procurement authority. Then we are going to be having the procurement entity. Okay, so these are the functions of. Okay, so you can pick these ones. These are some of the functions. So the person that want to write, so you can write from here. Ensure compliance to the acts as amended. Establish procurement unit within the entity, staff with qualified personnel, and panel competent and qualified evaluation panels. Ensure that procurement procedures are followed. Due process. Ensure stores, vehicles, and equipment are disposed of according to the Public Procurement Act as amended. Exercise sound judgment in making procurement decisions. So the person that wants to, okay, this is a slide on public procurement. So if I want to share all of them, then it's going to be a problem. So what I'll do is that maybe I can just pick them as the answers. I can just pick the answers and share them with you. That is the best one that I can do. Okay, but sharing this is a slide on procurement alone, which is about something, maybe 8 or something pages. But if you want it, no problem, I can still share with you, but it is going to be like you have a limited time, and reading this will be some way. But if you still want it, no problem. After the class, you can just WhatsApp me. I will share it with you. Okay, let's come to the entity tender committee. Okay, what are their entity tender committee? What are their functions?
Okay, they make sure each stage of the procurement process is followed.
Senior.
Yes, please.
Okay, so they admit all tenders and vet them.
Okay, that's that for the procurement. Unless you are on the field, though. Unless you have, if you are not on the field, you have to memorize the things. Okay, those who are working in the maybe in a district assembly and maybe they are in the procurement unit. Okay, for this one they have an idea about the process. So that one. But you are just a student, you are writing this one. Your one is supposed to be Baba. Okay. Because you have no practical knowledge about the thing. So you just have to do the Baba. That is the best way to go. Okay. So but those who are in this one, they have the experience, so they can actually write what they know, what they have been experiencing there. Okay. What they have been experiencing there as well. So for you, you just have to put it in your head like that and move on. Okay, so this entity tender committee are going to be receiving the procurement plan from what? From the procurement unit. It's just like the budget committee where the budget unit to prepare the budget and submit it to them for approval and other issues. So they are going to be receiving the procurement plan. So the cost and everything in the procurement plan, they are going to be approving it. So they are also going to be approving the cost items in the procurement plan. They also have the right to what? To approve some of the what? Some of the procurement issues. So they also have a threshold. So they can also approve the procurement plan within their what? Their threshold. They also ensure that the public stocks are also disposed in the order that it should be. They are just like a committee that is having overall control over the procurement process in the what? In the entity. Okay, so in the entity, they are the overall people, just like a budget committee in an organization. They are going to be having overall control over the what? Over
Sir,
the budget
please,
process. Yes.
between the head of procurement entity and the tender committee, who has higher authority?
The head of the procurement entity has a higher authority, but it's not going to be involved in the process. So those who will be involved in the process is the committee. Okay.
Yes, I now get the distinction.
Okay.
It's okay, thank you.
Okay. I hope you're okay now. Okay. So yeah. So it's just like he's giving the power to. So apart from the head of the procurement authority, it is a committee that is going to be having control over the procurement process. The committee can also, the head of procurement authority can say something. If the committee say no, you cannot go ahead to do anything. Okay, so the head of the procurement entity is the one that is going to be having the power over everything. But if you bring something and the committee is saying no, there's no way that particular thing will go. Although you are the overall boss, but you don't have we are living in a democratic environment, so the majority will always carry the vote. Okay, so they are going to be approving whatever is going to concerning the procurement process. They are going to be the people that will be taking care of that. Okay, so they are going to be having the review, the tender review committee. They are going to be having the evaluation panel too. Those people will now be set. They are going to be establishing those people out of the committee. So they are going to be approving the cost items over there. They are going to also be approving the plan within their threshold. They also have their threshold. So they also approve that one. They also ensure that the government stores are being disposed of in the order. And let me just share that one with you also. The person that want to write, you can also write from this side also. There's no problem with that. So, okay.
Boss.
Yes, now.
Please, can you be, writing it as you were doing, because that one will be a simplified one for let me say, for me.
Okay,
Yeah, that one, when you watch it, you can even stick faster than reading this.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm thinking my handwriting will be scaring people, so let me just
No. That
Oh,
one,
no.
it sticks. It sticks in your head, Prepo.
Okay. Okay. So let me come to the functions of the Entity Tender Committee, ETC. The first one is that they approve cost items. They approve cost items in the procurement plan. Please, the procurement, that is just mastered all the possible areas, the methods, the functions of the various ones, qualification, cancellation, and all those things. Approve cost items in the procurement plan. Okay. They also ensure that government stores are disposed of in the right manner. Okay, they also review the procurement procedures, the procurement plan procedures and others. So review the procurement plan procedures. Okay. They also receive recommendations from the tender evaluation panel for decision making on tenders. Okay, so review the procurement plan, the procedures and other issues, ensure that government stores are disposed of, approve cost items, and let's make it 5. Okay, let's make it 5. Okay, review procurement schedules. Procurement schedules. And ensure compliance with law. Okay, please don't, if you go there, they ask you the question. Okay, don't say you don't have any idea. Just put yourself in where they are asking you the question, assuming you understand what we call the entity tender committee, just like a budget committee that is overseeing the procurement processes, okay, in the organization. So just put yourself in the committee. So if you are part of the committee, what are you going to be doing there? If you people are the one that are overseeing the operations, what are you going to be doing there? You can just put yourself into the committee and see whether you can think about something that you can write. The paper will not be returned to you. Nobody's going to, no, you are not using your name, you are using index number. So nobody will be looking for you and give the paper to you. So whatever you are writing over there is between the paper and then the examiner. You just have to make sure that your hand is well. You are writing and it's readable, and you are what you are writing also, if you read it yourself, you look at it, can I give myself marks and it's making sense? You don't have to write everything the way it is in
Yes, sir.
yes, please.
The entity tender committee,
Yeah.
are they those who advertise for bidding? Those who invite for bidding?
No, it will be the procurement unit.
Is the unit that invite for bidding?
Yeah. The units are the people that are responsible for the administration and everything.
Then the tender.
It's easier than just trying to memorize it. It is difficult when try and put yourself in the shoes of, like the way he was saying it. If you are an employee, then you are part of the process of procurement. What will be your role? If you are a manager, what will be your role? If you are part of the board that approves procurement, what do you think will be your role? That's the only way. Other than that, if you try to memorize it verbatim, you may not be able to get it.
But out of those who are not working there, you need to memorize.
That one there.
Okay, Asinia, yeah.
The best thing is you should understand. We should know what the people stand for. That's all. When you know, then you can.
Yeah, is the calling for the tender is done by the procurement unit. Okay, the procurement unit. They are the people that are going to be. They are the actual people that are involved in the procurement process. Everything about procurement they are going to be doing, but they will just submit whatever they are going to be doing. They will submit it to the committee for approval. Okay, after the approval, then the committee will now give them a go ahead to go with the process.
So this committee just play an oversight over the
exactly
procurement unit.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
So whatever is going to be happening over there, it is a committee that will come, and it is from the committee that we are going to be having a panel and a review also. Okay. So the committee, when the team comes like that, the committee will look at it.
It's just oversight the thing they have over the units. That's all.
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. So whatever the unit, they approve everything that the unit is going to be doing. So if the unit call for the submission, it will not be submitted to the committee, and the committee will now give it to the evaluation panel, because the evaluation panel will be set out of the committee. So they will look at it, then they will now give recommendation whether they should call for this one. So the calling to will be given to the procurement unit people that call these people. So they will now give approval to the procurement unit that, okay, call this person, so that we can go to the next process of the procurement process. Okay. So now I hope you are okay now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's take the okay, let's take the B side. Okay, the B side, this is how, if they want to examine you on the methods, this is how the question will be. But I'm not sure they can ask you about explain the methods, although they can give you the methods and say you should explain the meaning, but it will always be the condition under which you should use the methods. Okay, so the use of the single source procurement is the simplest but most risky method of procurement under the Public Procurement Act 2003 as amended. However, the method remains the most appropriate method of procurement under some exceptional circumstances under the law. Discuss 4 exceptional circumstances under which the use of the single source procurement is acceptable under the Procurement Act as amended. So when can we use the single sourcing?
when the goods to be procured is supplied by only one supplier.
Okay, so let me make it very nice. Situations, circumstances. Let me make it circumstances for using circumstances for using the single source. Okay, the single source. So when the item that you are looking for is only available from a single what? Supplier.
Single supplier.
Okay. Only the items are available. Let me just write this very okay. Only a single supplier exists for the what? For the items to procure. Okay.
When the item is of security nature.
Okay. So the item is of
national security nature.
Okay. The procured item is of a national concern or national security concern. Okay, national security concern. Okay, this one is always about the guns and those ones. So right now, if we have to open this one, we have a lot of people in the system that can now fall on people that have been rejected to supply them those ammunitions, and they'll be using it for other things. Okay, so in terms of those guns, procuring those security items like the guns and those things, we cannot use competitive tendering because some people will be rejected, and the citizens can fall on those people, or those people they can just supply to other people, and they'll be using it to do bad things in the in the economy. So that would be also an issue. Okay. Sometimes you also talk about a time.
When it's for express need.
Urgent needs of goods.
Agent, yeah.
So the urgency nature of the item. So there's no time to now say we are going to be issuing, we are going to be inviting. No, we need the item. Okay, we need the item very early, so we cannot. So you look at the urgency nature of the item. So if we need the item very early, we can also use the single source. Okay, there can also be a situation where there is existing supplier. There's one person who is supplying us already, so we just want the person to continue with the items that the person is supplying. So we can have someone who is now doing the construction of the building for us. So we want a bridge also should be constructed over there. Since we have this person working already for us, we can say, okay, just continue with the work. Okay, so I don't know how I'm going to put that one. Okay.
So can you say compatibility with existing goods?
Okay. The English the English there is for ladies, so I will take it like that. So compatibility of what?
Compatibility with existing goods, works, and service.
Okay, compatibility. I don't even understand, but I should just take it like that. Okay.
We can also use standardization.
Okay, so
yeah, that's it.
So let's use the standardization. Okay.
For standardization.
Okay. Or the goods are of a specific nature that we want to ensure that okay. So standardization of the goods and services. Please don't go there and write a big English. The examiner will not be going with dictionary to
when all other methods have failed.
Okay, so when competitive tendering fails to achieve the desired results, we can use this one, competitive tendering. But sometimes people can just for this and say they have done this, they haven't done anything. So they will now, but whatever be the case, you seek approval from the board before you use the single source, because if not the case, people can just give the the contract to their family people. So competitive tendering failed to achieve the desired results, or fails to achieve the desired outcome. Okay.
Please, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Please, can you help me understand the difference between restricted tendering and then the single source?
The single source, we are using only one person, but the restricted,
Yes,
we can use at least 2 or 3, but just that it will not be competitive. We will pick certain number of people to.
We will pick.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
So we can say we need only 5 people to tender for the contract. So we are restricting it to certain number of people. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the restricted is also competitive, but just that not everybody will be involved. Not everybody will be involved. Okay. But the number will not be large as compared to. So restricted is always more than
one.
Okay. More than one. Okay.
Well, why do we restrict?
I think it's for the same reasons that we are mentioning. That's why.
The restriction can be the cost. The cost of us involving all the people is going to be higher than the amount of the goods that we want to procure. We want to procure goods of 10,000. Now you have to open a process that is going to be costing you 20,000. No.
Yeah,
so sometimes
it doesn't make sense.
The cost effect will also be a reason. Okay. And the goods are also available.
Hello, please. Yeah. So the cost effect too can also be applied to the what we are mentioning right now for the single source.
Not really. Not really. If you are having issue with costs, okay, if you are having issue with the costs, okay, if you are saying that the cost is the problem, okay, you cannot just go to one person and say the cost is the problem. Okay, if the cost is the problem, then at least you can do something.
You compared it with
you can do something to reduce the cost. Okay. So the cost is all. Yeah, please. Are you talking about a point, or I should go to the lecture note, the lecture note, or this one? If you can, someone is writing. Yeah. Are you talking about this board? So can you go back for a second, please, on the, okay, all right, okay. Okay, so that is it. Let's pick, please, just try. It's 10 marks. Okay, don't leave any space and go. It's 10 marks. It is a theory that is going to give you, so the procurement and then the PPP, at least you should be able to get, let's say 14 marks over there, maybe 7, because it's not going to be, it will either be the functions of the structures, or maybe to be issue with the method, or issue with qualification, or issue with maybe cancellation, or issue with complaints or something. It is not going to be, or they can even give you a question on the method that you are going to be using. Then they will give you values. They will say they want to procure goods to the value of this. Then you have to look for the procurement at the threshold over there. So they can give you a threshold for the goods, and each method is having a threshold. If the amount is exceeding this amount, then you have to use this particular method. Okay, so you can check the threshold also to see what is the range for this particular method. Okay, they can also examine you on that. On the method side, they'll give you amounts, figures, that what method is most appropriate for this one. You just have to quote that because the amount is above this one. The art says that this method should be used. That is all. It's not going to be anything. But before you can do that, you need to know the threshold for each of the methods. Is very important. Okay, let me move forward so that we see the questions that we can take before we. Okay. Auntie Bell.
Yes, sir. Should we go on, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, so question 2. Public procurement constitutes more than 50% of the annual budget after compensation for employees in Ghana. The Public Procurement Amended Act 2016, Act 914, was enacted to provide for public procurement, to establish the Public Procurement Authority, make administrative and institutional arrangements for procurement, stipulate tendering processes, and provide for related matters. Required. A. Discuss 5 functions of establishing Public Procurement Authority. B. State and explain 5 qualifications of tenders under the Public Procurement Act 2016, Act 914. Should I continue with the 3?
No, let's finish that one first. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so this one they are talking about the functions of the Public Procurement Authority. That's what they are asking you. The authority are those people at the top. Okay. Those people that are serving on the board, they are the people at the top. They are the people that they are talking about. What are the functions being performed by them? They are at the top. Okay, so they will be coming with the policies and all those things. So they will be making suggestions for policy formulation. They will make suggestions and all those things. So let me write there. Go to the board and put them there. So functions of the PPA. Okay.
So
Yes.
they also train people to become procurement officers.
Okay. So
They train people to become procurement officers.
Okay. 20%.
They submit procurement bulletin at the end of every month.
Okay. Let me take it small. Training personnel to become what?
Yes, they train personnel
To become procurement what? Officers, isn't it? Okay. They also publish. Okay. They also publish procurement bulletins. Okay. What is the bulletins that they are talking about?
News.
Okay. Okay. Makes proposals for formulation of policy.
Yes, they also keep list of bed firms from procurement and communicate them to the procurement entities.
Okay. So keeps list of
bed firms and communicate them with procurement entities.
Okay. Can you break down the that one, the bear?
What's the meaning of that?
It's the bar. Firms that have
Whether bed or band, we could use band.
Okay.
They keep list of band and communicate them to the procurement entities.
Okay. Okay. Keep list of band firms
and communicate them to procurement entities.
so that they cannot transact business with any of those firms.
Yeah. They also empower local firms to be more efficient through competitions.
Yeah, 20 marks.
Okay. They empower. It means that this person is working, maybe he might be working on a board.
Local firms, yeah, they empower local firms.
Senior, you have
through competition.
You have a first pass of public sector in this class. So
Board of Procurement.
It's just prepared.
No, I failed before, so I'm hot.
I'm hot.
Yes, so The next one.
Okay, they also advise the district assembly.
How many are we supposed to pick?
Or at least
5.
At least 5 is okay. Okay, 5. But there are plenty. There are like 19. Okay, if you check them.
Yeah, 19.
Oh yeah,
19.
we have quite a number of functions.
Yeah. So they also advise the metropolitan, those people on issues of requirements. Okay, the municipals. So they advise them on issues of requirements. Okay, so their function is about, they also do the training. They can train people to become procurement officer. They can also do that in-service training for them. Their issue is that the procurement process should be effective and should be followed. So the formulation of policy, don't forget about that one. Training also should not be what? Should not be done.
Wouldn't they submit reports?
Will they submit reports to the Ministry of Finance?
Yeah,
they will submit returns to the authority, the higher authority.
So they can also sanction. You should not forget about the sanction also. Okay, they can also sanction because fines and those things are also part of what their findings. So they can also sanction those who are not complying with what the act. They can also sanction you. Okay, and they can also address what administrative issues, complaints that are beyond the head of procurement entity. They can also work on that one also, because if you are submitting a complaint and the entity tender committee is not able to, you are not okay with that, you now send it to the board. So those complaints that are above the head of the procurement entity or the entity tender committee, they are going to be looking at it. So sanction.
Yes, I think they also approve preferred procurement process in terms of the entities that want to use established commercial practices.
Exactly. Even the single source, they also approve so you can also say that they approve, they give approval for
preferred procurement procedure.
I want to use a word. Okay. I want to use an English because the lady, she used compatibility. I also want to defeat her.
Okay. You want to impress her?
Yeah. So
please,
okay,
the list, is it bad list or banned? I think it's bad. BARRAD.
Yeah, so it's basically he's talking about banned, those people that are not supposed to, maybe suspended, those suspended firms, or some people that are entirely banned or they are being suspended. Maybe they will keep the list and give it to the procurement entities that they should not in any way contract these people for any contracts. Okay.
They blackmail them. Blacklist or blackmail them.
Yeah, that is it. Please.
Blacklist.
You can see a question on this one. So at least the functions, some of them have 5, 5, 5. The time I was writing financial reporting, there is an area that the factors that determine significant control, significant influence. So I just have to do abbreviation for it because I was trying to keep it in my head, but I can't. So I just have to do abbreviation for it. So after that one, my brother, nobody's coming to URCA. Yes, we know that URCA, you have the certificate. It doesn't mean that you should know the thing. So if someone asks you, say, okay, I'm coming. If you never come, that's not your problem. You have the certificate and you are using it, so there is no problem with that. Okay. All right. So let's come to the qualification. Is also another important area. I've spoken about.
Will be a substandard.
So let's look at the qualification. Okay, qualification. What are some of the for you to submit a tender? You need to meet a certain criteria.
You have to be in good standing. Okay. In terms of your tax clearance.
Okay, so you have to let me share this and now. Okay. So let me now come to
that technical and resource capacity.
Okay, so let's come to the qualification, which is also another area. for maybe 10 marks. So let's come to the qualification of tenders. Qualification of tenders. Okay, the first one is that you should fulfill your
Tax obligation.
You can also say you should fulfill your statutory responsibilities. Okay. Okay, fulfill your
statutory
obligations
financial capacity
by so let me just add it, such as paying your taxes and also SS contribution. Okay, so they will ask for all these documents to confirm. Okay, so you should also have the financial and the technical capacity to carry out the work. So have the technical and the women.
You must have resource.
If your points are not plenty, you can expand this one. You can bring the technical first, the women capacity to first, and the financial capacity to another one. Okay, but if you have plenty of points, you can add this one and the financial capacity to carry out the work. Okay, that is also not bad. Okay, let's come to
has the legal capacity to contract.
Okay, you have the legal.
You must have capacity to contract.
Okay, the contract, that one over there should be a registered firm, isn't it? It should be a licensed. The legal capacity should be, you have to be a registered or a licensed firm to carry that one. You should not be, you'll be in your own room without any authority you are doing. So you have the legal ability or capacity to enter into a contract or to contract. Okay, to enter into a contract. The next one is what? You should be operating on going.
Have going concern.
Okay.
Should not be insolvent, sorry.
Okay. So you should not have liquidity problems. So operating on going concern. Okay. It should be operating on going concern basis. You don't have liquidity problems. You don't have cash problems that if we give you money to do, you are using the money to pay your debt and there's no money to buy cement and those things for this one. Your top management should be what?
They must be good standing in the eyes of the Lord.
Okay. So
they must not be money launderers.
Okay.
They will not be politicians.
Okay.
So they can be politicians, but money laundering.
Oh, Africa politicians, they could.
Child trafficking.
Top management should be in a good standing. They say that members in a good standing. In the ICA books, I'm not there. I haven't paid my subscription.
Hey.
So, what are you saying? What are you doing for me? You're not doing anything. Top management.
Maybe you are not a member.
Or me, I'm an associate member.
So you are a certain member now.
For the way. Yeah, I won't go for that membership.
You are not in good standing.
Oh. They don't pay attention to that one like that because we have only the certificate. But those people that are members, they have they actually have another certificate in addition to the normal certificate that we are having. So they don't really pay attention to us like that. But I will try. It's 850. I will pay. Right now I'm
every year.
Yeah, they will be increase it next year.
850.
Yeah.
What benefit do you get?
Senior, ask me again.
Do they give you contracts? Do they link work for you?
Question for the boss. Question number 3.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Yes, please.
So the aspects of the bid security, how do you explain that?
In the what?
Qualification, bid security, or the qualification.
I didn't get it. You say in a what?
The bid security aspect. How do you explain that in the context of the qualification of tenders?
Where they will ask you to bring an assurance in form of maybe bank statement or those things.
Bank guarantee.
Are you talking about
So
tender
that means,
security?
yeah. So that means if you don't bring it, you won't qualify.
Or that one is a situation where that will come in when the contract has been given to you, or maybe you have been awarded the contract. Okay. Okay. So the tender security will come in when you have been awarded the contract. So they will say that, okay, since we have given the contract, you now prove now that you have everything, or you can assure the company can be having everything, but they just want an assurance that you are going to be completing this. So if you are not able to do that, or sometimes sometimes the assembly will know that, okay, there is something in the contract over there that if you get to know it, maybe you decide not to continue with the contract again. Okay, so if you have that security with us, there is no way you can back out. Okay, you either, because you have money with us, and if care is not taken, you might not get it back, or you are going to incur costs to get it. You can decide to continue with that one. Okay, so the security is not actually getting the security is not actually part of the qualification. After processes.
Then in that case, this thing is not transparent. The terms are not transparent. Because if there is hidden this thing in the contract, that I have to pay this thing before you open up to me, that is not transparent.
No, everything, you are going to understand everything, but what they are going to be writing, you are not a technical person. Okay, so some of the things you might not understand, and maybe sometimes the price that you have quoted yourself. Okay, we are in the hyper efficient economy where prices can increase. So looking at that one, we have done onerous contract. So looking at that one, you see that no, I cannot continue because I'm going to be losing. So you want to back out. And since you have the security with them, you have no choice than to continue. So that can also be another reason for that. So the security is not actually, if you want to talk about security as part of the qualification, you are not going to get anybody. If you want to talk about security as part of the qualification, no, you are not going to be getting anybody. Even the international people will not even come, because they can think that you want to fraud them, or you want to defraud them or something like that. Okay, so the qualification you tender like a normal person, if you have the capacity and those things, you tender. But we also have other issues that are applicable by the board, other things that the board will be requesting for. So if you see these are the major ones. Let me come here. These are the major, what we have said now are the major ones. But if you look at the qualification, there's something here that you see that other. So what is the qualification here? Let me look at the qualification. Okay. Let's look at the qualification here. Okay. So you can see that meet other entity specific words. Rules. Okay. So if the entity is requesting for that, that is no problem. But these are the ones that are provided by the arts. Okay, these are the ones that if the person has to tender, the person has to meet these ones. But if the entity want to specify another rules that have to be met by the tenderer, there is no problem. Okay, Auntie, I hope you're okay now.
Yes, I'm okay, but I have another question. Am I permitted to ask?
No problem.
There's a question here. It's saying that a company had tendered for several contracts that were advertised, but in each case, they failed to win these contracts. The company is now worried about their situation as it may lead to liquidation of the company. They have just contracted you for advice on how to reverse this unfortunate downturn. And it's saying required, explain 4 challenges that are likely to be the reason why they are failing to win contracts. So will this
They're not meeting the qualification.
I just wanted to know if this qualification
is the
will be
qualification is
the
the
answer for it.
Yes,
Okay.
please. If you are not giving a contract, it means that you don't have the what it takes to win a contract, so you are not qualified. Okay. So you just say this one. You just state this one because
So
they
you
might be
state
failing
these
because
ones.
they might be failing because they fail to what fulfill their statutory obligations as in payment of taxes and Senate contribution. They might not have the capacity or the financial or the technical capacity to carry out that particular work, or they might be having a liquidity issues that is preventing them from operating on going concern basis, or some of their management might be having a criminal records and those kind of things. So those are the things that are going to be seen before they will proceed with your proposal. But if you haven't met any of these one, they can reject you. So that might be the reason why they are rejecting them. Are you okay?
Yes, noted. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the 3.
Okay. The Public Procurement Act 2003, as amended, has provided procurement structures and rules that are necessary in achieving an open and orderly public procurement system. Each structure is therefore entrusted with certain responsibilities in public procurement. Required. Explain the responsibilities of the following structures in public procurement within the framework of the Public Procurement Act: Procurement Unit, Entity Tender Committee, Tender Review Committee, Tender Evaluation Panel. Please scroll up. Head of Procurement Entity.
For how many marks?
Explain 5 procurement rules that procurement entities are to observe during the tendering process.
Okay. Okay. So we looked at the entity tender committee. We look at their functions already. We look at the head of the procurement entity. At the procurement unit, we haven't looked at them yet. Okay. So what are the functions of the procurement unit? What are the responsibility of the procurement unit?
They invite contractors for bidding.
Okay. Okay. That is also good. They also prepare the procurement plan for approval or for review by the procurement entity tender committee. They also publish they publish the name of successful or unsuccessful tenders also. They also issue, someone is saying that they also issue and reject that one. They provide everything. They are the people that feed the entity tender committee. They provide everything. They support the work of the entity tender committee. Whatever the entity tender committee will be doing, it is the procurement unit that is going to be helping them. The approval, the plans, it is the procurement unit. The publication of processes and everything, they are going to be doing it, everything. They are going to be doing the tender review committee. What is their responsibility? Tender review. What is their responsibility? Tender review.
They review the activity at each stage of the process of procurement.
Okay. Okay.
And then
So yeah, the review. Okay, another one.
and then they also approve, like when the other entities, they haven't met their threshold, they give the approval for it, for the threshold concurrently.
Okay. Okay. They also have the authority to stop. Okay, if during the review process they have identified something, what would they do? They have identified something that is going to cause damage to the procurement entity. What are they going to be doing?
They will request the tender stops.
Okay, so they can ask the people to also stop this one, because this is what we have gotten and it is not good. So we advise or we recommend that you should stop the process immediately until this thing has been resolved. The tender evaluation panel, what is their responsibility?
Unless they are technical.
The tender
The group of
evaluation panel.
technical people that go. If I don't want to use evaluate, so they assess all the tenders brought before them and advise.
They review.
Okay.
Review and evaluate tenders.
And advise the entity tender committee on the way forward.
Okay, so they are saying responsibility, so at least you can make it two. So they evaluate, they review and evaluate all the tenders submitted by the various tenders. Then they make a recommendation on the selection of the qualified tenders to the committee. Okay. Explain 5 procurement rules that procurement entities are to observe during the tendering process. You haven't heard about the rules before?
No inside trading.
Okay. They are just talking about the normal, those things that are being classified as those ones. Okay. So
Procurement plan.
Are they the same as the principles of procurement?
No. We have the procurement rules, then you have issues on the qualification. Okay, so you can just put those ones, only qualified tenders should be selected. So that is one of the rules. So we have a rule on the qualification, the rejection also. So whenever someone is being rejected, the grounds for the rejection should be communicated to the person. That is also one of the
rule on suspension.
Yeah, you can also suspend a person if there is a need for that. Maybe the person does not complete the work or something. So you can also suspend
form
the
of
person.
communication.
Okay, you also have to communicate. Okay, so let me. Someone is saying my board is not showing, so let me write the rules over here. Okay, so let me come to the rules. There should be, for every procurement process, there should be a procurement plan. Okay, there should be a procurement plan. Okay, confidentiality must be ensured in what? Confidentiality must be ensured in all aspects of the what?
Procurement process.
Of the procurement process. So you must, and you must also select the appropriate method for the appropriate contracts. So selection. So we also have a rule on the on the selection. So selection of appropriate method for the appropriate contracts. Okay, so you also have the only qualified tenders must be selected. There should not be any family business issue here. Okay. Okay. It's also give pre-qualification criteria.
There shouldn't be inducement.
So pre-qualification criteria must be duly communicated to the must be duly communicated to the potential tenders or the pre-qualified tenders. Okay, to the pre-qualified tenders, to the pre-qualified tenders. Okay, so this is what you are going to be changing to these points. This is what you have to change to these points. Okay, so we have the rules set on these ones. So you just have to. Okay. So these are the things that you have to change. So procurement plan, the suspension. So you can just write them as something that is it. Okay, so you just make them to be a sentence. So these are the rules. The rules are being set for. So the Public Procurement Act as amended makes specific rules of procurement in the following areas. So before procurement can happen, there should be a procurement plan. Okay, only people that are qualified should be what? Selected. Suspension of the, whenever there is a need to suspend, we suspend those people, the person that needs to be suspended. And what are the criteria or what are the situations that you can suspend the person? Pre-qualification, participation in the procurement proceeding, forms of communication to be used, documentary evidence, recording of this one, cancellation. Okay, so you can just change this one also. So what is the default language? What is the default language for the procurement process?
English.
Okay.
English.
Okay, all procurement communications must be in what? All issues relating in form of communication must be in what? In writing as well as be in what? In English. Okay. Auntie, can you take this one for us?
Please pull up. Okay. Okay. I think it's okay.
I'm sure we have done so many questions on procurement. Let's go to PPP now. Okay, the 5.
So please, if you are leaving procurement, can I ask a question?
Okay.
On procurement, please. Whether competitive tendering, that's a method of the procurement.
The default.
Can excessive use of its, say again.
That is a default method.
But okay.
Okay.
So I want to find out if excessive use of it can create a problem.
Yes, can create a problem. If you are going to be incurring costs. Okay, so if you are using competitive tendering, the first one is going to be the cost that you are going to be. It's going to be expensive. Okay, and you are going to be wasting money because some of the goods, some of the items that are going to be from only one supplier, you want to make it competitive again. You are going to be wasting time. So it can be time wasting and it can also be expensive sometimes. The goods are available from a limited number of people, you still want to use competitive, you still want to make it open to people. You still want to make it open to people. So it's going to be time wasting. Time wasting is going to be expensive also. The cost is also going to be a problem there. And if you can think about other issues, for now, I'm thinking about the time wasting. And also, if it is used very well, you'll be getting the quality product that you want. But just that you are going to be wasting time, and you're also going to be wasting resources. And sometimes it can also not be applicable if you are trying to, the goods are available from one person. Okay, that is also going to be, but you'll be forcing to use competitive at any point in time. So you are going to be wasting time, and you're also going to be incurring a lot of cost. Those are the two that I can say if you are using the competitive tendering all the time, those are the problems that I think it will be creating. Okay, but whatever be the case, if it's being used very well, the quality product, you are going to be getting it, and you are going to be getting them at what? At a less expensive amount or something. And it's the discrimination, those things will also be avoided. But the only side is the expensive and the being, you are going to be getting a lot of cost, and also the time that you are going to be wasting, because not all the requirements that you have to use are competitive tendering for. Okay. Are you okay with that?
All right, sir.
All right.
Yes, I'm okay, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Question number 5.
Sir, please.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
Please, I want to ask one question concerning procurement.
Yeah.
So what's the difference where like circumstances where procurement entity can use commercial practices, and then the difference between that one and the exemption from Public Procurement Act? What's the difference, please?
Okay. If you are using established commercial practices, it means that you are not going to be using what the act is saying. So it means that you are automatically exempted. So you can procure goods without using the provisions of the act. So if you're using the commercial practices, it means that you are actually exempted. You can still be a public entity and still be using the commercial practices. So the exemption will be an entity that is not procuring goods using public funds, an entity that is not a public entity that does not depend on government for its operations, like an individual. If you look at Ghana Guineas right now, Ghana Guineas cannot say they are going to be using the Public Procurement Act of Ghana to procure goods, because they are using their own money. So for those people, they are entirely exempted. Okay. But as soon as you are using commercial practices, it can also happen that you are exempted, or you are still a public entity, but just that you are financially and legally autonomous, and you don't depend on government for most of your subventions. So exemption is you are not a public entity, or you are not procuring the goods using public funds. So that might be or that will always be the private entities or the private individuals. They are not going to be using. If you are going to buy a laptop, you cannot say that, okay, you have learned in public sector that if you want to buy a laptop, you have to request for quotation from nobody's going to mind you. You come and put a notice that you want a laptop, bring your proposal to my house. A laptop is how much? Nobody's going to mind you. Okay, so it means that you are exempted. Nobody's going to mind you. You are an individual, you are exempted. But anyone that is using public funds to procure goods has to use the Procurement Act. Okay, so the exemptions is those who are not within the public domain, or they are not public sector entities, or they are not being financed by the public, or they are not procuring goods with public funds. If the government is giving you loans and you are going to be using the loan to procure funds, the government wants the funds to be used very well. So if you are a private entity, you will still have to use the Public Procurement Act. So private entities are actually exempted from the Public Procurement Act. But if you're using a commercial practice, you can be exempted, or you can still be a public entity and use the commercial practice. Why? Because most of your finances are generated what internally. You don't depend on government solely for finances. And you are also stating that, okay, depending on the nature of the procurement that you want to undertake, all the proposed methods, the restrictive tending, the competitive tending cannot be applicable based on what you want to do. Or you are saying that the method that you are using, you are proving beyond contention that the method that you are going to be using is going to ensure value for money and is also going to ensuring transparency in the procurement process. If that is the case, you can use the commercial or the established commercial practices. Please, are you okay?
Yes, please.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Should we go on, please?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. Government in recent times is leveraging public procurement partnership to improve provision of public infrastructure and services. Whilst there is an increasing use of PPP, there is lack of proper accounting and reporting of these transactions. An external donor has promised government huge financial support on the condition that PPP transactions are accounted for in accordance with IPSAS 32, that's a service concession agreement grantor. In response, the controller and accountant is tasked to ensure that all PPP arrangements of government is accounted for in line with IPSAS 32. As a team lead for emerging accounting issues, you have been tasked to provide a briefing to the team on the following: what constitutes services concession arrangements? What are service concession assets? How service concession assets should be accounted for? Accounting treatment of liabilities resulting from service concession arrangements. Disclosure required in the financial statements. Required. Prepare your brief on the above themes in accordance with IPSAS 32 for presentation to the team members of emerging accounting issues.
Okay, thank you. So our brief should be on what these 5 areas. What constitutes what service concession arrangement? What constitutes service concession arrangements? When do we say we have a service concession arrangement? Yes. When do we have service? What constitutes service concession arrangements? Are we there?
So this one that you have to help us.
Let me try.
Okay.
I thought someone is talking.
When asset can be controlled through its use.
That is about the asset itself. Okay. That is
when there is an infrastructure developed by the government, and then the government decides to give it to private sector to run it, and then the private sector will pay for concessionary rights.
okay. That is not bad.
When infrastructure is developed by the government.
That is not bad.
Please come again.
Depending that when there is an existing infrastructure which has already been developed by the government, and the government decides to give it to the private sector to run it, but the private sector will be paying for some concessionary rights.
Okay.
Okay. So what constitutes? Okay. Okay. What constitutes service concession arrangements. Okay, the issue is what do we call a service concession arrangement? Okay, we say there's a service concession arrangement when the government who is the government is who? We have the grantor and the operator.
The government is the grantor.
Okay.
The grantor.
The grantor or the grant. So we have this one. We have a service concession arrangement. When the
government transfer the right to approach.
Okay. So when the government has now grants, okay, or transfer
the right
or grants the right to provide
public services
the right to provide public services
through the use of assets to a private party.
Through the use of assets, public services through the use of assets
To a private party.
Okay, to the private party or to the operator, which is the private party. Okay, it's the private individual or party who is the operator. Okay, to provide such services or service for an agreed period. Okay, so we have a concession arrangement where the grantor, okay, you have the government has the right to provide the public service, like the ECG issue. Okay, the right is for the public to provide electricity. That is a public service. It's a service that is being used by everyone. Okay, but that particular right, the government has a right. The government has now given the right to, or the government has now transferred the right to the PDS people, that they should now take in charge of providing that public service through the asset that the government already have, or the operator can also provide the assets. But it's going to be through an asset. Providing the service is going to be through an asset. Any of the parties can provide the asset. But what you have to know is that under service concession arrangement, government is not going to be losing ownership. Government will still maintain ownership of the arrangement, or whatever the government is giving out, government will still maintain ownership. It's just that we don't have what it takes to do that, and we are now giving you the right to use the asset to provide that particular public service. That's what we call the service concession, and that is what constitutes the service concession. There's a service concession where the grantor or the public or the government transfers or grants the right to provide public services through the use of assets to the private party or the operator to provide such service for an agreed period of time, where once the government maintain original ownership of such service, government is not going to be losing such service. So they can say the government want to now do something and they want to still maintain ownership. The best option is to have the concession arrangement. If it is a public service, the best one is to be the concession arrangement. So this is what constitutes the concession arrangements. Okay, but Auntie, you have also done well, so that is not bad. That's not bad. The examiner will not just overlook what you have said, so he will also award you. All right, thank you. Let's go to the other one. What are service concession assets? What are service concession assets?
I think.
So can you say?
I said earlier.
Can you say it's an asset used to provide public services? in a service concession arrangement?
No, the assets, the time that we are going to be having, the time you have an asset, okay, that you call the service concession asset, okay, okay, yeah. So what you are saying is not bad, okay. So yeah, that is the the asset or the property that is used in the what, in providing the what, the public service. The asset that we use is the service concession assets. But the question is, when they ask you when should the government recognize the service concession asset, that's why you bring it over there. Okay, so the service
When
concession
you
assets,
control the risk.
yeah, so that is the recognition. So the service concession asset is the asset that is used in the service concession arrangement, or the asset that will be used for providing the public service under the service concession arrangements. Okay, that is not bad. So let me write the service concession assets there. Okay, so we come to okay, service concession assets. So it's an asset that is used to provide public service under the, or you can also say is the vehicle, or is the vehicle, is a vehicle through which, the vehicle through which public service is delivered. Public service is delivered. The vehicle through which public service is delivered. And
Concession arrangement.
okay, and the service concession arrangements. Okay. So they can also ask you about when should a service concession asset be recognized. Okay, so that is where the government control the asset through the use, or have a control over the asset through the use, or have control over the asset through the entitlement to the residual value and other issues. So the asset that is used in the service concession arrangement is what we call the concession assets. Okay, so let's move on now. The next one is what?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Please, can you explain the second recognition of the
Okay,
service concession assets? Please say that.
I should just go
Yeah.
ahead with the recognition at once.
Please, you said.
I should just go ahead with the recognition at once, isn't it?
No. I want further explanation on the second recognition criteria. We state that the grantor controls the ownership, benefit, or entitlement, or any other significant residual interest in the asset. Please, can you explain the second recognition?
Okay, but the first one, you understand the control, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is going to happen is that at the end of the concession arrangement, if we have the residual value, it means that if the asset is for the the operator will transfer the asset to us, isn't it? If the asset is for operator, if the arrangement is that the operator is going to be transferring the asset to us, okay, the operator will give the asset to the grantor. Okay, so the grantor will have the control over the asset at the time that the asset is being transferred. Okay, so if the residual value of the asset is that huge, or you control majority of the benefits. Okay, let's come here. You have a service concession arrangement that the government is having 60% against 40% of the benefits. Okay, who are we going to be saying that is the majority owner of the arrangement?
The government.
Okay, and the government can also say how this particular asset can be used because they are having the majority of the control. Okay, so a situation where we have an asset that you are having 60% of it, I'm having 40% of it. Okay, it is good, or it is okay to say that you are the owner of the asset. So you can claim ownership of that particular asset. Or if you have an asset that the value of the asset is 25,000, but I'll be giving the asset to you at a residual value of 25,000. You are going to be controlling majority of the value of the asset. So we can technically say that you are the owner of that particular asset. So they are talking about a situation like this, where the benefit that the government will be having from the asset is higher than what the private individual will be having. Or we have contributed amount of money, you and your sister, you have contributed an amount of the money, and you contributed 70% of the amount. Your sister contributed what? 30% of the amount. If you come to the usage of the asset, who is going to use the asset more? Yeah, and if you come to the usage of the asset, who is going to use the asset more? Who is going to be claiming ownership of this particular asset?
The default owner, 70%.
Okay. So that is basically about that particular point. I don't think if you are okay now. Liz, are you still there, or you are gone?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Are you?
Thank you very much.
I hope you're okay now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Don't say that we have guys
Thank
over
you.
here, so you'll be feeling shy. Nobody's seeing nobody. You can't see me, I can't see you, and we can only hear ourselves. Okay. So don't feel shy. It is normal. Okay. Let's move on to how should we account for. Okay. Let me come to the. Okay. Okay. How service concession assets should be accounted for. How do we account for service concession assets?
I think they should be accounted for like PPs or intangible assets, like the non-current assets.
Okay. 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 That is not bad. That is not bad. Okay. An asset that is
So
going
I
to be,
think after the
yeah.
hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think after the initial recognition, the
Is it my network?
So,
I think it's from
sir,
the end.
measurement
yes, from the measurements and the recognition.
of
Mm,
this-
okay. Hey, I didn't hear anything.
concession.
Network. It's okay, very bad. Okay. So any asset that that meets the criteria should be recognized as concession asset should be de-recognized from the assets. Should be de-recognized from the books as a normal asset and now be classified as what? As a concession asset, which will be accounted for in line with the IFSA 17, PP, and 31, which is what? Intangible assets. Okay, so if the grantor has the control or the right to control the asset through usage and anything, he can recognize a concession asset if he control the asset through a significant what or through entitlement to the benefit associated with the significant usage or the residual value. He can also recognize that particular concession asset. That one is just a secondary matter to one. But any asset that is going to be meeting the recognition criteria or that is going to be termed as a concession asset, that particular asset, you can be having the asset as PPE, but as soon as it will be recognized as a concession asset, you have to de-recognize that particular asset and now classify it as a concession asset and account for it in line with the PPE or intangibles. It can be an intangible asset that you are granting to the operator, or it can be a physical or tangible asset that you are granting. So whatever is going to be the case, that particular asset must be de-recognized and now be recognized as a concession asset. And initially, it should be measured at maybe the cost or the amount that you are going to be receiving from the person. Then it should be accounted for as what? As a okay. So let's see. Let me come for the C there. So accounting treatments. Okay. So accounting treatments. Okay. Accounting treatment. We have the so any asset that meets the recognition, any asset that meets, so it should be any asset that meet the recognition criteria as a concession asset should be de-recognized and classified as a concession asset in the books of the grantor if the grantor, if he or she, if the grantor has, okay, one, control over the assets, control over the assets through usage or ownership, or controls the assets, controls the assets through the assets through entitlements to the significant return or portion or residual value of such assets. Okay. The assets should initially be recognized at maybe the carrying value or the cost, which is the amount that you are derecognizing from the assets. So at the carrying value or the cost in line with IPSA 17, which is PPE, and IPSA 31, which is intangibles. Okay. So the subsequent measurement to be in line with this one. You depreciate it or you revalue it. Anyhow you want to do it, it will be accounted for as a normal asset in line with the PPE and this one, but it will no longer be part of your normal assets. It will now be classified as a concession asset in the books. Okay, so let's come to the next one. Let's see what we can do over here. Accounting treatment of liability resulting from concession arrangements. So how do we account for the liability that is resulting from the concession arrangements? Auntie Bell, can you help us? Auntie Bell.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you help us with the accounting treatment for liabilities that are resulting from?
Do you have to know the nature of the liability, like the
No,
finance lease, the lease of it?
no, if you have any liability resulting from the concession arrangement, the liability is initially recognized as the value of the asset. Okay, so the subsequent one will be accounted for like the way you are accounting for a finance lease. So you increase the amount of the interest charge, if any, and you will now take the amount that is the return that the person will be paying. So you increase the current value with the interest and reduce any payment that you are receiving from it. Or the liability, we also have the two ways of measuring the liability. You can also recognize the liability when you have unconditional obligation to pay cash to the operator. So you can also, okay, if this thing does not go on well, we are going to be paying at this amount. That is a condition. So you cannot recognize liability until that particular condition is okay. Until that particular, so that's what I'm saying is the financial liability model. Okay, the financial liability model, we use it when there's unconditional obligation to pay cash to the operator. So the person is coming to do work. Whatever the person is going to be doing, you just pay the money to the person, whether the person has done the thing well or not. Okay, the payment that you are going to be making to the person is not dependent on any performance or any condition. So if you have unconditional obligation to pay cash to the operator, you have to recognize a liability to the amount of the cash that you are going to be paying to that person. So we can use the financial liability model. Okay, we can also use the grantor model. Okay, or the grant of right model. Okay. Okay, and the grant of right model is a situation where you are giving a right to the person. You are telling the person that, okay, come and use, we are giving the hospital to you. Okay, now do offer the public service through the hospital now. But what is happening is that instead of you using all the rooms available, the government is still using some of the rooms for the staffs. So it means that you are not going to be admitting patients over there and be getting money. And that is going to be losing, or that is going to be affecting your revenue. So the government will now recognize the liabilities relating to the portion of the rooms that you are not using. So what, as if you should have used those rooms, how much should you have been getting from that particular usage? The government will now compensate you for that one. So the government will only recognize liability to the what? To the portion of the right that is not being used by you. So the government can use some places as a parking space for the staffs that are coming there. The government can use a place as a parking space. So it means that you cannot have access to that one. That one will not be giving you a revenue. What is the revenue portion relating to the portion that the government is what? The government is occupying. So the government will recognize liability based on the portion of the revenue that you are not recognizing because of the government occupying those places. That is the grant of use. Okay, that is the grant of rights. But the financial liability model is a situation where the government has unconditional obligation to pay cash to the operator. So whatever the person is going to be doing, you are going to be paying the cash. The cash payment is not dependent on any work that the person will be doing. So we can recognize liability up to the tone of the amount that we are going to be paying. We can present value that amount if there is a need for that. Okay, if there's a need for that, we can present value it. If there's no need for that, we can actually put it in the financial statement as a concession liability. Okay, so any liability that is arising from a concession arrangement should initially be recognized at the initial value of the concession asset. So mostly it is going to be the right of use. You present value this one to find your right of use for the concession asset. Mostly it's accounted for as if it is a lease. It is a finance lease. Okay. Then if you are having a finance liability now, it means at the end of every year you find your finance charge. Then the person will pay. Then you take it away from that one. So you account for it like that. But if you want to use other models, which is the financial liability model and then the grant of right model, then that is what I've explained now. Government will only recognize liability if the government is having unconditional obligation to pay cash to the operator. So we recognize liability to the tone of the amount that we are going to be paying to that person, no matter what the output from that particular person. If it comes to the grant of rights, the government will only recognize liability to the portion of the right that is not being exercised by the operator. That is it. Okay. Disclosure required in the financial statements. What are some of the disclosures that we are going to be doing? We have looked at this one, and I've even said some of them when I was doing this one. The disclosure.
Okay.
The disclosure is what?
A description of the arrangement.
Okay, description of the arrangements. Okay, the value of the service concession assets recognized during the year, any termination or renewal contracts.
The recognition models.
Okay, the recognition models, any adjustments. So the money started writing.
Mommy.
So I don't like writing, so I didn't write that one. Okay, let me just start.
Renewal termination.
Let me look at the. Let me just look at the disclosures are also an area that they can examine you on. Okay, so
Renewal termination options.
okay, so you have the description. Let's take it one by one. Description of the arrangement, isn't it? Okay, the arrangement is about what is involved. Okay, what is the tenor of the arrangement? All those things has to be there. So we have the description, we have the value or amount of value of concession assets recognized during the year. Recognized during the year. Okay. Significant. So someone says significant terms of arrangements.
Renewal and
Okay.
Termination options.
Okay.
Let's pick the short, memorable ones.
That is it. You want to go and suffer. Significant terms of the arrangements. Okay. So you have the renewal. And
renewal and termination options.
Renewal and termination options.
Go and switch on the
right to use specific assets.
Okay. Right to use. Right to use.
So is it right to receive specific asset at the end of the arrangement?
Is it the right to?
Is it right to receive
use specified assets?
I'm sure it's supposed to be the right to use the specified. This thing.
Specified.
The arrangement is not. It is not written by. Let me confirm that for you. I cannot memorize the thing. It's not a family property. Okay. So. Okay, right to receive specified and right to use. There are two our parts. Okay. Right to
use specified assets.
And there are also the right to receive is also part. Okay. So the right to
receive specified asset at the end of the service concession arrangement.
Okay. Right to use and right to receive specified concession
asset at the end of the concession arrangement.
Assets at the end of
at the end of the arrangement.
Okay, at the end of the arrangement. Okay. And the significant changes that have been made to the arrangement during the year. If there's any significant changes made during the year. Okay. So I hope senior is now okay. Okay. So let's see if you can pick. Let's see if you can get to PEFA also before okay, please let's see if you can take additional 2 questions. Then I have a question over here which I'm thinking that you should have. Okay. Please read this one. Let me see. Read the question number 9.
Question 9.
Yeah.
The procurement unit of a government department has drawn up a procurement plan for the current financial year and has submitted it to the entity tender committee. A review of the plan revealed that single sourcing method of procurement is recommended for most of the procurement packages. This raises serious concern from the entity tender committee members. However, the head of procurement entity and the chairman of the entity committee holds a different view. He states that every procurement entity has the liberty to use any method of procurement it deems fit, and so the decision to use single sourcing in most of the procurement of the department cannot be challenged by the entity tender committee. According to the head of procurement entity, the entity tender committee has limited role in public procurement, and therefore the committee should work within its restricted powers and responsibilities. The role of the committee is to approve the selection of suppliers or contractors required. Please scroll up. A. To what extent do you agree with the assertion of the head of procurement that every procurement entity has the liberty to use any method of procurement it deems fit in the light of the public procurement law? B. Explain 2 conditions under which single sourcing may not be an appropriate method of procurement. Please, I'm done.
Okay. Okay. So this is what the people are saying. They are saying that every procurement entity first of all, you have to identify that this is what? This is a public what? Okay. Okay, a government department. So that is going to be a public entity. And the people are saying that every what? Every procurement entity has the power to use any what? Any method of procurement. So they are saying that to what extent do you agree with the assertion of the head of procurement that every procurement entity has the liberty to use any method of procurement it deems what fits in the light of the public or in the light of the procurement what law? What they are saying, do you agree with them? Do you agree with the head of the procurement entity?
But there's no legal backing that when you are procuring, you should use this.
Why is the act there?
I think the act serves as a guideline. So to an extent, they are right. But the act gives what's the word? Times in which you should use for. So for instance, if you want to use a single source method, the act will give you circumstances under which you can use single source, but the act doesn't necessarily prescribe that.
It doesn't restrict you.
It doesn't restrict you. It gives you the room for you to interpret what the circumstances may be and what procurement method applies.
Okay, but the act also suggests that, yeah.
Yeah, I think the single source
competitive tendering is a default method. So that should be considered first before any other method should be used.
And also, before you can use a single source procurement method, you need approval from the PPA board. So you can't just voluntarily get up and say, oh, you want to use this particular method, especially with a single source procurement method.
But do you justify the reason why you are using one particular method?
No, the method, the default one is it should
the
be
default ones you don't need to justify.
Yeah,
But the single source, in that one, it comes with conditions.
So the default one is the competitive tendering. Okay, the Procurement Act has stated what we have about 5 methods that you have to use. Okay, the Act has stated what 5 methods that you have to use. These methods are the competitive tendering, the restricted tendering. We have the single source. We have the request for quotation, and we also have the 2-stage tendering. This is what the Act is. These are the methods that the Act is given. And if you are
Senior, but this is open. The Act did not direct that in this situation or these circumstances you should use this.
No, that's why it is. That's why we have the condition, the situation that we can use a single sourcing, the request for quotation. The Act has given us those conditions that we can use, those situations where you can use this method. Those
So they are the premise on which you can use one or use another.
Yeah, depending on the situation. If the goods are available from only one supplier, we use a single source. Okay, that is what the Act is saying. But if the goods are from multiple sources, then you just have to use a competitive tendering. Or maybe you are talking about the issue of cost. You want to look at the cost issue, then you can use restricted tendering. Okay, but they are saying that you have you have whatever be the situation, you have the right to use any method at all. No, that's not what the Act is saying.
No, the argument doesn't hold.
Okay, so how are you going to answer this question? You have to answer the question by, you also can answer this question by saying the situation where they are saying that you can use any method at all. That is the commercial practices. Okay, you can also state that okay, the only time you can use this is this one, but this one should be addressed to the Act. So the Procurement Act has given us 5 methods. So the 5 methods are this one, and any time that you are going to be procuring goods using public funds or you are a public entity, you should be using these methods. You should be using these methods. And the default method, the Act even said that the default method is the what? Okay, so let me
competitive tendering.
So let's write that. Okay, the Procurement Act, the Procurement Act 203 as amended provided or provides 5 different methods for procuring goods in any procuring goods for any public organization. Okay. These are the competitive tendering, we have the restricted tendering, we have the single source, we have the request for quotation, and the two-stage tendering. So these are the method used by the arts. Okay, but they are saying that you can use any method. They might not even be making reference to what, to these methods. They might not even be making reference to this method. So these are the methods given by the arts. So if you are procuring goods in a public entity, you need to use this. You need to use this method. And the art even gives what? The art recommended competitive tendering. The art recommended competitive tendering as the default method for procuring goods and services. Okay, but the arts also went ahead to say that a situation where any of these methods, these methods seem to be inapplicable.
Single source should be.
Okay. Seems inapplicable. Approval should be what?
Sought from the board.
Okay, approval should be obtained. Approval should be obtained from the procurement board or authority. So you don't have the authority to use anyone. Even if you are saying that the method provided by the art is not applicable, you still have to what? You still have to seek approval from the board. So you don't have the authority on your own to go and pick any procurement method. You have to go according to the provisions, what the art is saying. If you look at the nature of the goods, which of the methods is applicable there? And the default method for the art is even the competitive tendering. But if any of these cannot be applicable, you have to seek approval from what? From the board. So what they are saying that any procurement entity has the authority? No, you don't have that power. The power is for what? The arts and also the board. Okay, so you don't have
They want to abuse the system.
Has the liberty to use any method of procurement it deems fit. No, it deems fit is no. Okay.
Maybe they have personal interest.
Yeah, that's what normally happens. Sometimes the time that we were auditing those people, they will use some method. Then we look at, no, this method should not be the one that they should use, but they will say that they are trying to explain that Explain two conditions under which single sourcing may not be an appropriate method of requirements.
When the security nature of the goods you are procuring. Single sourcing will not be applicable.
Yes, please.
When the procurement is international distance. When is bordering on the technicalities that we need international competitors to join.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I think it would just be like the vice versa of the conditions needed
opposite.
from the single sourcing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's come to.
Oh, can we go forward?
Let's go to a situation where we cannot use a single sourcing. So single sourcing where there are multiple sources of supply. Single sourcing will not be applicable when there is a knife when there's enough time to process the supply. Urgency cannot be an excuse again because we need time to process the supply. So when there's enough time to process the supply, we don't have to
When the quality of the goods is at stake.
Okay, when the quality, when there's enough time to process the supply. So you just turn the situations for using a single sourcing to a negative side or a positive side or however you have to change it.
When the quality of the goods to be procured is of essence.
Okay. So when the goods or services are of higher quality, of a higher quality, that will also be the situation when the goods are not of security concern. Okay. The goods or services are not of national security concern. Okay. There is also another question
When
that I
you
want
do not want to ensure standardization of the quality of goods and services.
Exactly. There's another, we have to close at 10 p.m. There's another question that, like they pick question number 5, they pick a question from that side and they brought it in the exam. Okay, this is question number 7, the last one here. Let's just go through that one. It was 2 questions. They brought one for 5 marks, so maybe they can still bring this one. So let's try the question number 7 here.
The objective of enactments relating to public financial management, among others, is to safeguard the public funds from plunder. One way to achieve this objective is by making specific provisions on the modalities for making payments from the Consolidated Fund, Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution. Sorry. The law requires that all payments from the Consolidated Fund should be authorized and the payment should comply with certain general rules. Identify 4 statutory payments permissible by law in the public sector. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry. So what are the statutory payments that are permissible by law in the public sector? Okay, this will count for like 5 marks. Okay, one will be 1.25 or 1.5. No, it will be 1.25 or something like that. What are you going to
I think compensation for employees.
Yes.
Goods and services.
Those are statutory payments.
Yes. Compensation for employees, goods and services, debt something.
I
debt
think
payment.
one is payment of payee. Pay us to earn tax for employees.
Okay, let me check what's okay. Get fund. Okay. Okay. Get fund. Get fund is part.
Is it the same as the authorized withdrawal from the public funds?
Yes, please.
Okay, then is the Appropriation Act, supplementary budget approval.
No, no. That is the payment that can be made through the approval by the public, by the parliament. The parliament have to authorize that one by approving. Okay, so let me. That is the. Okay, the question that I was talking about is that one. The ways of authorizing payment over there. So the payment that will be authorized from that one is the appropriation passed by parliament. That will be the budget and those things you have to. So the appropriation will now tell you that you should pay from the consolidated fund. The supplementary also, that will also be that one. No, not that one. But these are payments that you are going to be making. But these are payments that are statutory. They are by law that you have to. They are permitted by law that they have to make. So compensation for employees are not bad. The goods and services are also not bad. But let me give you some of them. So the statutory payments, so that if you go to the exam hall,
Payment of employees needs.
I think payments to those pensioners and those things.
Okay, the first one is
And judicial payments, yeah.
Currency payments.
Okay. You also have the interest payments, interest on debts. Okay. So interest payments will also be there.
SNIT payments.
Okay. We also have transfer to DACF, District Assembly Common Fund. Okay,
Yeah.
transfer to all the funds. They are all statutory payments that are permitted by law. So transfer to get fund, transfer to road fund, transfer to sinking fund, all those ones. Please, if you go and write these ones: pension payment, interest payment, transfer to get fund, transfer to district assembly common fund, transfer to. I was going through the last sitting question. I realized that no, they picked this question. There were two questions. They are all talking about. So if you like, you can check maybe how the last sitting question, the question was about authorization, which the answer has to be about appropriation and the supplementary act and those ones. Okay, you can check and see whether it was the same intro that was given. Okay, there were two questions there, so they picked that one. So hold this one. If something happened, then you just put it over there. Gain your confidence before you move on. All right. So please, any question? Tomorrow we are doing the financial statement analysis, and Saturday we do final accounts. Any question? You can go through the remaining ones. Those who want the lecture notes, you can WhatsApp me privately. I will share them with you.
Please lecture notes on words.
Now, some people they are shared some, and some people are asking me for. I shared a public procurement one.
I'm sure those who couldn't join the normal classes.
Oh,
and we entreat them to join.
So no, I can share them with you. So don't worry. I will save the solution and share. So you don't have a problem. Okay. So I will share. So please let's go through. Yes, this is theory. So you can just take your phone and maybe even if you Google, you can get most of the things, the understanding of the things more than maybe the way it will even be in the. It's not a calculation that if it is 80, it is 80. No. So this is theory. You just have to write and explain in your own words. Please let's do well so that we can get it once and for all. Okay. People normally underestimate the public sector, but you go there, it will discipline you. So let's be on top of issues. PEFA, you don't have to worry yourself. Know about the uses of the reports, know about the challenges, know about the outcomes of they will tell you outcomes of the open and orderly PFM Act. That will be the physical aggregate discipline, the efficiency of resource delivery or something like that. Yeah. So, and also you look at the pillars, the budget
Resource
reliability, and also those things. Okay. You can also look at that, the sources of information also, and you also look at the method. When do we use this method? The weakest method, when do we use it? Average method, when do we use it? If you come to the PPP too, know the contract, the various contract, know them, know the risks, know the benefit of PPE to the individuals, the government, and also the private individual. Then you also look about the principles, the guiding principles. Okay, there are certain things that you just have to pick over there. Look at the concession very well also. The concession arrangement also. When should we recognize an asset? When do we recognize liability? What are the methods that we have to use for the liability? What are the disclosures? They can bring question on any of these ones for 10 marks. And the procurement also look at the situation where you can use the method, the qualification. When do you cancel the tender process? When do you cancel the process? What are the qualification? What are the criteria for qualification? What are the functions or the responsibility of some structures in the Procurement Act? Just try to get those ones and you'll be okay. Okay, you don't have to go and learn everything. At least focus on the major ones and get your 15 marks. Please, if there are no questions, we meet tomorrow. We look at analysis, financial statement analysis, which is 10 marks, and Saturday we do final accounts. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right,